Feels like forever ago, but I found this Dungeons & Dragons Nerf blaster at the clearance aisle at Walmart. It was $4. It was brand new in box. I decided to open it up, see what it's all about. Honor Among Thieves was a really funny movie. I saw it when it came to streaming, and I'm kind of disappointed that I missed out on it in the theaters. This is based on the dragon Rakor, and from the looks of it, this is a 2-barrel Nerf Jolt style blaster. The reason I say that is I can already tell the priming bar is in the handle here. There's a good amount of sculpting to this thing, so I think what we need to do is free it from its ties and get it in hand. Now, this was one of a few dragon-style blasters from the Dungeons & Dragons movie, but ironically, this isn't the first Dungeons & Dragons themed Nerf line that exists. There was another line that, gosh, when was that? Like about 2019, I want to say, or something? 2020, 2019? That was related to Dungeons & Dragons, but not a movie tie-in. Now that it's free from the packaging, we can safely discard this, but there are some nice elements on this packaging, and it kind of goes with some of the Golden Archives action figures that Dungeons & Dragons was doing roughly around the same time as the Honor Among Thieves. We don't need this anymore. Here's the blaster in hand. It has a big, nice, solid grip, and let's just see. Oh gosh, I forgot to get the darts. I gotta get that package. Yeah, there's 4 darts I just left in here. Now we can throw this away. Got the darts. I have some nice, bright forest green darts. They both fit into the front barrel. This is a smart AR system. We pull down on this priming bar. This feels so much like a jolt, and then we fire these off. That's it. That's how this thing works. You've seen this blaster done time and time again, but what makes this one different is the sculpting details. Now, a couple things. There's some interesting material use here. So this fin on the back of the dragon, as well as the horns and these other olive green bits, are made of a different type of plastic. It's a very rubbery plastic or a resin that isn't the same as like the back of the tail, the barrels, the priming bar, trigger, handle grip, things like that. It's made of a different material, and probably for good reason, for safety reasons. You can't poke your eye out with this thing. Or at least it'd be much harder to. But if we get a really, really close look at this guy, you can just begin to see some of the sculpting details that went into this blaster. It would have been easy just to like paint a dragon on there. It could have been anything else, but they really incorporated the entirety of this dragon into the blaster. And I think that's what somebody would get this for. If you are somebody who is really enthralled with the world of Dungeons & Dragons, I'm guessing this dragon means something to people. I just don't know exactly who this is. And it's just kind of a fun 2-barrel blaster that fits easily in your hands, easy to use. Again, like the blaster itself isn't anything really to write home about. We've seen this so many times. But it's the sculpting around here that really deserves some attention, because like it could have been just a lot easier to slap something on there like a drawing or a logo and just call it a day. But again, like integrating this design into the blaster, even as far as like wrapping the tail around the grip so you have this thumb hole, I don't know if it's a stock, but just like a thumb hole grip, really helps sell the fact that this is a dragon firing projectiles. Blasters like this focus more on the movie tie-in quality than they do performance, which I think is a fine trade-off. We get to enjoy like a little bit of extra sculpting detail that we might not necessarily have on another Nerf blaster, but also just have stock internals that we've seen time and time again. And because this is a smart AR system, you can expect that the darts will lose performance based on whatever one fires last. And the interesting thing in this case is that it seems like the very first barrel is the bottom one, and then the top one is kind of the smart AR barrel. What are some things I like about this blaster? Well, I mean, you could tell by just how I was talking about the sculpting and the detail. This is a unique design. This is a unique shape. This is something that I don't think we're going to see again. So what would I change about this blaster? That's kind of a tough one, because I would likely change some of the more gimmicky qualities about it, like having the tail be on a swivel so that it could kind of move around. Give it a little play feature there. Some lights for the eyes, something like that, something that would give it a little more character, something that would just add to what's already there. And something that I don't really like about this blaster, and there's really no way around it, is that you have this really nice sculpting detail on this side, but when you flip it around, You lose some of that sculpting detail because there just has to be all these warnings and stuff printed on the blaster just for safety and legal purposes. So you do lose a little bit of detailing on this side of the blaster, but again, it's for a good reason. I think part of the question for some people out there is like, why Dungeons and Dragons for a Nerf blaster? I think the answer is like as simple as they're both wholly owned by Hasbro. Nerf is a complete Hasbro brand top to bottom. Dungeons and Dragons, by way of Wizards of the Coast, is a top to bottom Hasbro brand. When you have a movie tie-in for a property that you already own, it just makes sense to start combining toys in every which way possible. You're not spending the additional licensing fee for a name brand like Star Wars. You're not spending that additional licensing fee for Indiana Jones, Marvel, those kinds of things. It's all in-house. You just have to send a bunch of emails, wait for legal to give it a thumbs up, and you got yourself a toy crossover. I mean, grossly oversimplifying it, but when you contrast it with some of the contract negotiations that you have to do with a property like Marvel, which can split between comics and TV and movies, it just gets to be so much more complicated than people that you can look up in your company address book. So that's Rakor, the Nerf blaster from the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie. Am I saying this dragon's name right? Please let me know in the comments. Some of my final thoughts on this thing is just that they did a really great job incorporating dragon elements into the blaster. They didn't have to go as far as they did with the tail wrapping around. Like, there are really well done elements here. The matte finish on the dragon gives it some nice contrast to the gloss of this faux hand wrap. And honestly, like, it's just a goofy looking Nerf blaster that is a gimmick just based on design alone. I got this for $4, so my expectations for it were rather low. Had this been a full-priced item, I probably would have been looking a little more closely at some of the imperfections or some of the things that I didn't necessarily like. Does it hold up as a Nerf blaster in a 2024 world? Well, considering it's using Elite darts, no, not really. I mean, it's not using the N-Series darts, and this smart AR system Jolt-style blaster has been done many times. So, like, you're not getting anything special in terms of the mechanics. To me, this is basically like a sculpture that fires darts, which you can pretend are dragon projectiles. You gotta let me know what you think of this one. Did I find a good bargain for $4? And whenever these opportunities come up, I'm just gonna keep posting these bargain finds because it's just cool. It adds to my collection, and it gives me something new to appreciate and compare for future blasters. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.